It's time for another Covrprice Top 10 list. Where will Mark Spears end up on the list? That's always a question. But what books are trending most in the aftermarket? We'll look at them next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hello, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, like, comment, subscribe. Check out the description for links to my Instagram, whatnot, eBay store, and email. We do this every week, a Covrprice Top 10 list, Covrprice being an independent third-party comic book pricing service that take data from different internet sources and aggregate them for both raw and graded books. They also put together a bunch of lists, including this Top 10 list, which looks at books that are moving hottest in the aftermarket. So let's break it down, and we'll take a look at the list. And coming in at number 10 is Fantastic Four, number 28, the Peach Momoko Marvel Rivals Edition with Galactica, or Galacta. Galacta. It's not Battlestar. It's just Galacta, the daughter of Galactus. These books are going for about $10 each. These Marvel Rivals variants are very popular. Of course, you add Jeff the Landshark to the mix. And that is what is driving this particular issue. Peach Momoko will always have her fans. They showed up in a big way when this book was released and still have been. As the popularity of Marvel Rivals grows, tie-in books like this will continue to have an aftermarket movement. But this one has the added benefit of being a Peach Momoko cover and features Jeff the Landshark, the mascot for the Marvel Rivals game. It doesn't have much else going for it, but that appears to be enough to sustain its aftermarket heat. The first appearance of Galacta at one point was going pretty heavy. Do we see her as like coming to the MCU that we're getting Galactus? I'm not sure, but I doubt it. But this book jumps in at number 10. Let's go to number 9. And number 9 is an oldie, but a goodie. It is Spectacular Spider-Man. Number 9 from 1977, the first appearance of the White Tiger, the first comic appearance of the White Tiger. White Tiger actually had his true first appearance here in the magazine Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, number 19, but his first comic book appearance, and he's featured prominently on the cover. This character, of course, we're seeing now in Daredevil Born Again, and that is fueling this book. It's going to have condition issues because from 1970s, about $20 for a good solid copy and up to $40 for a high-grade copy. If we look at the history of the graded copies, let's look at 9/8. Now, there are only 837 of this book on the census, which is wild because it's from 1977, Spectacular Spider-Man. There are a lot of copies out there. But if they're not in high grade, 9/6 or 9/8, they're probably still not worth getting submitted. They're 837, only 126 of them, or 15% are 9/8. There are more 9/6s than 9/8s by 100. Let's look at the 9/8 prices. And this is kind of interesting, right? This was always maybe a $50 plus $60 book. It grew. And then it started to boom as there was word that White Tiger was going to be in the Daredevil series. It spiked all the way. This is a 9/8, all the way to $749 in June of 2021, height of the boom. And it has worked its way back down. And actually, there's been a downturn as of late. I mean, this is kind of interesting. The character appeared. We looked earlier in the year, books are selling for $300 range. And in the last few weeks, including just before the TV show premiere, 210 and 207. I think that might have to go to availability of 9/8. Let's take a look at 9/6s because there are more of those. And you're still going to pay a premium for those. And that's been more or less solid. $130, $150. And it's been that way for a while now. Daredevil Born Again is finally here. The pacing is quick, and already they have introduced the White Tiger who first appeared in this book. We still don't know how much he would be involved in the season, as the actor portraying him, Camar de los Reyes, tragically passed away in 2023. The future of this character iteration is obviously up in the air due to that, but that hasn't stopped fans from picking up his first appearance. R.I.P. Camar. There is another White Tiger who is his niece that appeared in the 90s, so that mantle could possibly be passed on, certainly. And it's the amulet that he wears around his neck that drives his powers. Let's look at number 8. Number 8 is Invincible, number 61. This is the first appearance of Conquest, and this book has gotten hot. You're going to have to pay well over $100 for a high-grade raw, and up to about $400 or so for a 9.8. Let's take a look at the 9.8s. Now, let's take a look. There are only 202 on the census. Granted, 62% of them are 9.8s. This is a book from 2009, so it's a very modern book. And it, in recent weeks, has jumped up to around the $400 level in a 9.8. And there aren't that many of them. Like I said, there are only 126 of them. We don't want to ruin anything, and neither do I. I haven't watched this yet, so suffice to say, he's badass and is marked as a before and after character for the title. With his introduction, Invincible became something different and never looked back for the remainder of its run. I'm not familiar with the comic, but I haven't really read the comic. But I have watched the series. Haven't watched the new season. I have to jump into that. Let's jump in to number 7 on the list. And number 7 on the list, this has been on the list before, Geiger, number 10. It's the first appearance of Ash Arden. This is the Gary Frank second print, Who the Glowing Woman. Kind of a good girl cover, about a $10 book. Geiger was one of the most beloved titles of 2024, and they entered the new year with a bang. This issue marked the first cameo appearance of the Glowing Woman, but this second print took it a step further. Here, it features the character front and center on the cover, which is an interesting move. It got fans' attention for her full first appearance in the following issue, and prepped collectors for her next cover appearance in issue number 12. Again, I think the Geiger's been strong. It's written by Jeff Johns. Said this before. This is a comic book writer I believe in. He did some great work at DC, and also is familiar with how to adapt something to the screen, having been instrumental in bringing his own creation, Stargirl, to a TV show. And the thing is now that, creators like Johns are going to, they're going to Image because they own these characters, this Ghost Machine universe he owns. So if he's the one that's going to decide, on potential adaptations in live action. So I think obviously has to build the characters a little bit more within the comic books, but we could see this down the road. Geiger might be a good, solid, long-term spec, if nothing else. I haven't read it yet because I'm so far behind in my reading, but I definitely will. I kind of got some of the first issues and then trailed off. I've been trying to pick them up here and there when I see them for cheap. And I've been getting the new stuff on my pull list. So, don't jump out too much on these books, but I think that if nothing else, it's going to be a good, solid series or set of series to read. Let's go to number 6 on the list. And this from Dark Horse, this is Sister Imperator. I was wondering if that was an I or a T in the trade dress. Sister Imperator. From last week, and it's going for upwards of $20. And the reason for that is following the footsteps of Coheed and Cambria, the band Ghost has developed an outstanding lore surrounding the group. Part of that is Sister Imperator, and this book details the story behind the character. Fans of the band flocked to this book and is severely under the radar until now. I'm not a music guy, so I don't know. Keep an eye out for it, maybe. Let's go to number 5 on the list. This I do know. This is Space Ghost Johnny Quest, Space Quest number 1, the Mark Spears Ash Can, and it is a beautiful cover. This is going to be the cover A for the miniseries that's coming out. When is the miniseries coming out? Combining these two Hanna-Barbera 1960s properties that both have had Dynamite do their own series on. This is releasing on April 16th. So it's going to be pretty much identical to the Ash Can, except the Ash Can says Ash Can, right? Right up in the left. I think the interior is probably going to be different, but this is a book that's going for about $25 to $30. Too early to get anything graded. While Space Ghost and Johnny Quest aren't necessarily household names anymore. For us old folks, they were. but they can be when Mark Spears is attached. This book was offered as an ashcan preview featuring Mark Spears' iconic style, and that clued collectors in on taking a second look. It's been doing well on the aftermarket and will help bring some attention to the title once it drops in full. And he's doing, I think, all the covers for this series. Right? I believe these are all Spears covers. I don't know if it's 3-issue miniseries or that's all they've gotten out. Yeah. Mark Spears regular cover. So if you're a Mark Spears fan, you can get this FOC and get it for cover price at your LCS. I did go on eBay and got the ashcan. I got it for a little bit cheaper price than it was going for at auction even. So hopefully conditions okay, but it's something I just want for the PC. So yeah, that is Mark Spears makes the list. Let's go to number 4 on the list, and it is Red Hulk, number 1. Here we have Red Hulk in the reflection of Dr. Doom's mask. This is the PX previews, limited to 1,000, and we can see that it's going for $75, a sale of a 9.8, which is probably a pre-screen, not a pre-screen, a pre-order of 173. Red Hulk is all the rage currently, and Marvel is capitalizing with an all-new series. This one features the think tank's introduction and a new Red Hulk and Robert Maverick. It also serves as a tie-in for the One World Under Doom event, which I've read and is very good, issue number 1. So this cover nails the assignment. Collectors deemed it a must-have and acquired it in spades. This is a little bit surprising because Red Hulk was in the Captain America film. That's kind of come and gone, and the book's still hot. You know, Whatnot did those trading packs and everything. So go figure. Let's go to number 3 on our list. And at number 3 is Secret Wars, number 2. This is the first full appearance of God Emperor Doom from 2015 with an Alex Ross cover. Part of the storyline that I think will at least partially be adapted. This is about a $25 book, sneaking over $100 in a 9.8. Be aware there is there's a second print and a third print. The second print is a Virgin edition. Those are a little more expensive because they're a little bit harder to find. And they also have the Alex Ross cover. There's a Ribic 1 in 25. Yeah, this also has fairly high values. And if we look at the 9.8s of cover A, there are 500 on the census. 85% of them are 9.8s. There is a 9.9. And this is kind of fun. It's been selling for about $100 since the news hit. It was, a little bit below that. Kind of funny. This was one sale of $150, and then we had a boom sale of $500. Somebody made a mistake, and it's come back down to well under 100, and then it kind of ticked up just about $100 recently. This book marks the first appearance of God Emperor Doom, an alternate reality version of Doom. Recently, there have been leaks online for Avengers Secret Wars featuring the character, but at this time, they're proving to be nothing more than rumors. Always take leaks with a grain of salt, including this one, but that's a major reason why this book was booming on the aftermarket last week. I was grabbing this series, at flea markets and stuff a few years ago, and I have to dig them out. I know I have several copies of issue number 2. So let's move on to number 2 on our list. And this is Impact Winter number 1 from 2022. Near mint copies going for upwards of $40. No sales found in the slabs. There's no census data discovered by Go Collect. We're not even going to see that. CG City Census. Comics. Impact Winter number 1. Impact Winter. No, there's nothing. Right? None of them on the census. Just kind of curious. It's 2025 and podcasting is still a billion-dollar industry. However, a lot of projects fall under the radar as the sector is no longer growing at a rapid pace. Take this book, a prequel tie-in to the Audible audio drama. Last month, Netflix acquired the rights to develop a series based on the IP. And now that the news is hitting the masses, collectors are out in force aiming to acquire this book. I have to think it's not that. I mean, it's who is this from even? I don't know much about this book. It is an Image book from 2022, height of the boom, but it wasn't one of those books that people were jumping on, unlike number one on our list, which is BRZRKR #1, written by Keanu Reeves. This came from Boom Studios in February of 2021 and was hot. But everybody was buying a copy. So let's take a look at this. This is kind of interesting. And there are a ton of variants of issue #1, right? Just a plethora of variants of issue #1. I don't even want to. How many is this? That's 6 in a row. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 73 variants of issue #1. And the A cover, $5, $70 for 9.8. Why is a 9.8 so cheap? Well, look at this. There are 2,200 universal copies on the census. 90% of them 9.8. Interestingly, no 9.9s. There are a whole bunch of signature series as well. People taking that for Keanu to sign. This character that is visually based on Keanu Reeves. Now, I mean, look at this right out of the gate, right? 50, you know, it was selling around $50. And then we do have a high sale of only $150, and it's dropped back down, right? And it, you know, it did get $100 for a sale last week. That is kind of a little bit higher than most of the other sales, an $85 sale. Most of the other sales in the $70, $75 range. It feels like the adaptation hype behind this book has been building for years. It has, almost 4. This series was optioned for film way back in late 2021, and just recently a director, Justin Lin, was attached to the project. That's often how these things go, with years in between announcement and adaptation, with numerous projects falling by the wayside in the interim. This project just got a shot in the arm, and so did the aftermarket movement. Keanu Reeves is going to play the character. I think that's what the news is. We shall see. Just there are a lot of copies out there, a lot of copies that haven't been slabbed. This was one of those books at the very beginning of the boom. And this is when I started like getting into YouTube and watching stuff. And, you know, I have copies of BRZRKR. Everybody who's speculating on BRZRKR back then, and also not newer collectors, but, you know, kind of people that are jumping into the game at that time. I had been collecting forever, but, you know, in terms of the buying and selling, rather than just say, okay, I'll take these because I want them in my collection. So yeah, that's BRZRKR #1 hits #1 on the list. What about our runners up? Those are always interesting to look at. Number 11 is the Mark Brooks BRZRKR foil. That's selling for about $7. Number 12, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, staying strong. Number 13, the Magic Marvel Rivals variant by NetTease. Number 14, and this has been a solid performer, but still $5 for a raw. It is about $100 for a 9.8. Scott Snyder revealed the Absolute Universe has only just begun. When the titles were first launched, many weren't sure if this was a gimmick or an ongoing series. However, this is more than just a throwaway multiverse storyline. Snyder shared that a planned event is scheduled for late 2025, followed up with even more events in 2026 through 2027. This is huge. That means the Absolute Universe is here to stay. Yeah. First appearance of Absolute Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And that kind of caught people unaware, and there weren't as many of them. Number 15, the first first meeting of Punisher and Daredevil, about a $200 9.8. And number 16, this was on the list last week, X-Force number 116, the first appearance of Dupe, who may be part of the Young Avengers. Number 17, this was on the list last week, Spawn number 5, a character that's coming back. Number 18, Omega Men 3, stays strong. Number 19, Pop Kill number 1, Amanda Connor 1 and 10. And at number 20, NYX number 9, the Fan Yang 1 and 25. So that's going to do it for our top 10 list. I'd like to thank you for stopping by. Let me know what you think of the books on the list, and if you have any or want any. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.